going to go over basic essay information, and you must master at least 80% of the material by the end of the year, which means you have to pass the quiz on this with at least an 80%, and there's no exceptions. This is mandatory information that you will need in my class and in your other classes throughout high school. You just need to know this. So there's no exceptions. So you're going to be able to format an essay, list the major parts, explain how the works cited page is formatted and organized and where it goes, when to use a parenthetical or in-text citation correctly and how to format it, and apply essay conventions. Formatting. Everything that I use is from the OWL at Purdue. They have an excellent website and they stay up to date with all the changes made to MLA. The last name and page number go in the top right of the paper, not in the written portion, but in the header. So if you go to Insert on Google Docs, page number, your last name goes to the left. Okay, so you have your header in the body of the essay, and everything is double spaced without additional spaces. You have your name, your teacher's name, your class, and the date. And notice the date. It's the day with the month spelled out followed by the year. Students make the mistake all the time for how to format the date. Please do not do that. The title is centered below. Again, no additional spacing here. The titles are not italicized, underlined, or in bold, or in a larger font. They're in the same 12-point font, Times New Roman. The only exception is if you include a published text. Then you italicize only that part. And when in doubt, you guys can go to the OWL at Purdue and see their sample essay. More formatting. It's always going to be 12-point font for every single thing in the essay, period. And it's always going to be Times New Roman font. So I don't care if you like other fonts, this is just what you're going to do. And you're going to have 1-inch margins all around. Sometimes Google Docs will have 1.25 margins. You need to go in and change that. So you go to File, Page Setup, and then you can manually change the margins there. Okay. You can also do this on Word and Pages. The major essay parts. And sometimes your other teachers ask you what are the major parts of an essay, and you guys don't know how to answer that. This is something you should know from at least 8th grade at the latest. You start with an introduction, then you have your body paragraphs, and then your conclusion. Those are the major parts of an essay. The works cited page goes on the last page of the essay by itself. Yes, you need to make a separate page. Most of your teachers are probably going to have your essays submitted digitally, and so you're not wasting trees. You do need to do a page break. So you go to Insert and then add a new page or create new page, whatever it says. And then you're going to use a hanging indentation. So a regular indentation is what it looks like for a paragraph. A hanging indentation is the opposite, where the longest line is the top line. And we do that so that we can find the author's last name very easily. So that if someone reading your essay is looking for a specific author, they can find it very quickly. And it's alphabetized by the first word on the left side, usually the author last name, but if you don't have the author, then you can use the article title, and you can see it goes A, B. A lot of mistakes that I see my students make is they don't alphabetize. I will catch this, so please take the time to do it. If you have 2 words that begin with A, then you go by the second letter. So if it's AI and AL, the AI goes first. If you have 2 ALs, then you go by the third letter. Okay, so you have to use your brains a little bit. In-text citations are also called parenthetical citations. They mean the same thing. As you can see, it's the author's last name followed by the page number in parentheses with a period at the end. That's what it looks like. You don't have any commas or PG or P, nothing. If you're ending the sentence with a quote, you don't put any punctuation here. You add a space, and then you add the parenthetical citation with the period at the end. If it has a a question mark or an exclamation point, that does go inside, but you still have the period at the end. Okay? So that's what it looks like, and you can see it in the paper as well. When do you use in-text citations? If you learn something through your research, you cite it, period. Okay, because that tells me that you did not know it before. If you summarize it, you cite it. If it's a direct quote, you cite it. There's also indirect quotes. It's a direct quote, but you change enough of it. So the verb tense is to use a single quotation mark. You still cite those. So you use a single quotation mark if you are using basically a quote, but you're changing verb tense or something like that. Conventions. You refer to authors by their last names. You never refer, like when we're writing about Knight, you don't say Ellie, you say Wiesel. Or if we're writing about Persepolis, we don't say Marjane, we call her Sotrapi. It's just a convention that you do. You write about authors using their last names. You don't say Mr. or Ms. in front, just their last name. It's kind of distant, but that's what we do. Here's an answer to the question, what do you think of when you're using a quote? You think of a quote like a baby. You need to introduce the speaker or the quote and explain why you include it. If you don't do these things, you drop the baby. So if you don't introduce the quote, it's like you're holding the baby by its feet. All the blood rushes to its head, doesn't have good neck control, it's bad. Don't do it. If you introduce the quote but don't explain it, it's like you're holding the baby by its head. Not good. Okay, not good at all. So avoid quote abuse, introduce and explain quotes. So that when I ask in the quiz, what image? It's a baby. I know your other teachers have used other images with you in the past. That's fine. This is the correct answer on the quiz. You also use third person in essays. He, she, it, theirs, his, hers. Using first person weakens your argument. It's wordy and it's less effective. So you don't say, I think Knight is a great book because. You just say, Knight is a great book because, or an important book because. It's more assertive, it's more direct, and it's just stronger. So just get rid of the I's. In some cases, I think it's appropriate to use first person in essays, but usually we can avoid it. Last but not least, details for organization. So this is just a little bit more information that you guys need to know about the major parts of an essay. In the introduction, you introduce the topic or you provide context, like the setting, and you end with the thesis statement. So the thesis statement is the last sentence in the paragraph, in the introductory paragraph. Topic sentences are the first sentence in each body paragraph, and they relate to the thesis. So a thesis statement is an opinion statement, so are the topic sentences. It's like they're subcategories of the thesis. They are specific. A thesis should also be a specific opinion statement. In a conclusion, you explain why this essay is important, you reiterate the thesis, and you answer the question, so what? Why did they read this essay? Why is your point of view important? Or what implications does this have for society? It's the last paragraph of the essay, and you usually do not introduce new information in this paragraph. It is a very hard paragraph to write, so your teachers would love to help you with them. Just let us know. So once you feel confident, you can take the Essay 101 quiz.